Ikenga Ugochinyere was cleared by the screening committee and handed over certificate of clearance on the 28th of April 2022. In total, 38 aspirants were screened for House of Representatives and 10 aspirants for Senate. The screening report was submitted and Ikenga was cleared. Later on, an appeal panel sat and reviewed appeal from those disqualified, of which Ikenga was not listed. The panel wrote their report, gave Imo PDP a copy, and headed to Abuja to give the national leadership a copy. Few days after, another report was thrown to the media that a man cleared and issued certificate of clearance mysteriously had his disqualification upheld. One may beg to ask, which disqualification was upheld? It is considered laughable because the hatchet men who did this job did not plan well to look for a strong strategy. Did they not know that Ikenga has been cleared and there is no term as upholding disqualification? Comparing the two original reports of PDP National Assembly Screening Committee and National Assembly Appeal Panel for Igbo State that cleared the opposition spokesperson Ikenga Ugochinyere for House of Representatives election for Idiato North and South Federal Constituency with the doctored and falsified report that was given to media houses. The established fact is, when an appeal panel did not disqualify him because there was no petition against him and the screening panel had cleared and issued him certificate, he could not have appealed to an appeal panel when he has been cleared. Right-thinking individuals have considered this the highest case of forgery and intra-party rascality that must be dealt with by the party's National Executive Committee, NEC, to remedy the image of the party and ensure all those involved in the forgery are arrested and disciplined. The PDP is playing with exclusion risk of other candidates contesting in Idiato North and South Federal Constituency because the new Electoral Act has listed consequences of illegal disqualification of an aspirant. If Ikenga challenges his purported disqualification in court, which he might likely do apart from the falsification, there is an issue of denial of fair hearing and jurisdiction because there was no valid petition to the appeal panel, nor was there an appeal against the clearance, and there was no disqualification by the screening panel. Many Nigerians are asking PDP chairman Iyochia Ayu, what has happened to the mantra of due process and rebranding of the PDP to move away from the dark parts? Who is the official inside National Working Committee who recruited his agent to do this hatchet job? Accusing fingers are pointing to the PDP National Secretary from Imo State, who is alleged to have a candidate for the same Idiato Federal Constituency, which is not under the National Secretary zone, but he wants to have a say without following due process. Nigerians are wondering if the PDP can still be allowed to return to power when the dark days of impunity seems to be growing strong in the party. If the PDP conducted its own report and wants to exclude a man that many Nigerians have come to celebrate as a courageous soldier of justice and strong advocate of good governance, one wonders what to expect from the People's Democratic Party if they are allowed to return to power. These events started with the stealing of result sheets of Idiato Federal Constituency, where Ikenga comes from which Ikenga vehemently rejected and pointed fingers at the National Secretary Sam Anyanwu, whose personal assistant was accused of stealing the result sheet. The two result sheets of the aborted ad hoc Imo Congress, which is still in the custody of the Department of State Services, is 25, with 2 local government areas missing. One of the missing LGAs is where Ikenga comes from. The National Secretary was accused of being responsible. Ikenga has also raised issues about the eligibility of the Secretary to continue to stay in office in view of his expulsion as a member of the People's Democratic Party. Ikenga's argument was that the PDP runs the risk of being excluded from the party if it's proven that the National Secretary is not a member of the party. Using falsified and doctored documents of a screening report that cleared him to tend to exclude him will not solve the matter, but escalate as Ikenga has the capacity to wage an internal war which will keep the ruling party at edge. According to a quote routinely attributed to Edmund Burke, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. End of quote. Does it even sound interesting to the People's Democratic Party? Does the silence from the party leaders portend good when a die-hard party soldier and current spokesperson for the party's alliance is being excluded from a race he was legitimately cleared? Who in PDP doctored the screening report that cleared Ikenga? Many lawyers have advocated that PDP leadership should have since ordered the arrest of the members of the panel inserted who went ahead to falsify records into their second report without showing the evidence. Reports and tweets received since these incidents happened is rage and shock on why Ugochinyere leadership is keeping mum while impunity days is gradually creeping into the party. If Ikenga does not contest, the PDP have cast a doubt on its readiness to chart a new course for the country built on a strong goodbye to impunity and intra-party rascality. All eyes are on the National Working Committee and the National Executive Committee to look into the doctored report upon which Ikenga is alleged to have been disqualified to help save the image of the People's Democratic Party and prove that IU leadership is ready to lead a new disciplined PDP with zero tolerance to impunity.